there have been 4 slow starters in League Two in August, teams that were expected a little bit more from in terms of the whole season, and yet currently find themselves in the bottom half of this sort of embryonic stage of the season. Barnet and Bristol Rovers, of course, will be familiar with one another from their National League promotion winning days. They've both started slowly, maybe to different levels of expectation. Bristol Rovers, of course, are one of the bigger clubs in whenever they're at this level, whereas Barnet won the National League with 102 points and are still kind of in the process of working out how they can translate that template into the higher level. And then there's Colchester and Notts County, with Col U finding themselves in the bottom half, hoping to pep up their attack with Micah and Bick joining on loan from Charlton this week on deadline day. And Notts County, of course, under Martin Patterson, who got a big win, didn't they? Winning 2-1 at Tranmere last time out. So which of those slow starters are teams that we need to worry about and that might sort of underperform this season, and which are the ones that we're confident are going to start to motor across September and October? That's what we're here to discuss on this League Two podcast. So if you like what we do here on EFL Debate, you can do us a massive favour by getting subscribed to us on YouTube and on Spotify. Delighted to be joined by my usual co-host, Ed Walker, an expert on all things fourth tier. Lovely to see you, Ed. And I'm also delighted to be joined by Ryan from Up the U's. So we'll start with you first, Ryan. A 1-1 draw at Barnet in your last league game, a bit of a late sickener there, conceding in the 90th minute to courtesy of former Col U defender, actually, Danny Collinge. Why do you think Colchester haven't maybe got the results you might have hoped for in the first few games?
I don't know what it is, but the way we are playing this year is very different to how we finished the year. Yes, we're grinding out the results. Like sort of a year and a half ago, that game against Barnet, that would have been concede the goal to make it 1-1 and then concede another goal and lose 2-1. So we are making it hard for teams to be able to play against us and get the 3 points. It's evident that we're missing just a clinical goal scorer. Samson Tavide is still sort of up to his old sort of antics where he's sort of fighting the defenders first and then trying to play football after. Obviously, unfortunately, the injury to Goodwin, I think it's in the second or third game, was a bit of a blow. Danny talks about not having a striker to play up to, which we thought we was potentially going to bring in. Whether Mbik is that striker that we're looking forward to play up to, or if he's more a play off a striker. The football has still been good football in parts, but it's still just sloppy mistakes. I mean, you look at the Cambridge game, there's talk around the free kick that shouldn't have happened because of what happened in the Chelsea Palace game where there was a player within 1 metre of the wall. Apparently, the fourth official made the ref aware of it and he chose to ignore him. And then the second goal was just poor defending. From when you watch the replay and they set it up, you can see Job at the back post all on his own and he just makes a free run in. So that game, it was poor decisions that cost us. Against Barrow, we were just too slow to react. So it's still things that we were struggling with last season. We're still struggling with this season, but we are struggling to put the ball in the back of the net. But it's just weird because, like I say, the first 6 games, the way we've played, nothing like what we were playing last year. But it's sort of working, but Colchester fans aren't. I know they're not massively happy with how the season started.
Ed, what's your take on Colchester? Are you confident that they're going to click into gear like they did around October, November time last season?
Are we kind of back where we were 12 months ago again? With the difference this time being that actually we kind of hoped Colchester were going to start that way. They kind of got off my radar because I'm normally kind of ignorant of draws. I kind of have more attention on the teams that are winning games at the minute. So when I see Colchester start with draws and then add more to it, you kind of go off the radar. And I think it's the only victory so far, Shrewsbury. Is that right?
Yep.
which came with that was the very funny second goal, which came with the aid of George Lloyd setting up. I think it was Tavide, wasn't it? Or was it Lisby who put that
Lisby,
away?
yeah.
Lisby, yeah. So, I don't know when we're hitting the stage of starting to draw conclusions to where we are with teams at the moment. So they do seem a bit below the pack of where I want them to. And I'm wondering a bit, Ryan, is it maybe something on a personnel wise? You talked about the strikers there. Loss of Ellis Andola right at the start of the season. Have you found that the new lad Josh Powell has done the effective job in that cover?
I think when he first started, I think it was one of them where you sit there and he's like, he is no Ian Dolo, and you sit there and you're like, he looks all right. He has got a hell of a lot better the more that he's been playing. I think, I don't want to pull it down to that fact. One of the big factors I think in it is the stuff with the takeover. I don't think Robbie was planning on being in charge of Colchester United for this season. So we haven't been able to bring in the players potentially that Danny wanted. We weren't probably able to bring in number 1 and number 2 on his transfer list. We might have had to have gone for number 3 and number 4 in some places. So I'm not going to stand here and say
can I ask how long in advance was the Lyle Taylor situation known about, really? Were they prepared to react to that? Did they have time?
I think so. I think it was mainly sort of thing of where all the players that were out of the contract were sort of told that when these new owners come in, we'll re-talk your money, like sign for what you're on now, and then we'll renegotiate your sort of terms on how much you're on. And then there were some players where they were offering pay cuts and some took them. I think we was offering Lyle like a 40 or 60% pay cut to stay. And if any job that you're in, if your boss comes up to you and says, we're going to drop your wages by 40%, you ain't going to hang around. No. There's a small part of me that's thinking maybe he's gone to Chelmsford to get some match fitness and then he's going to come back to us on loan. But I also think I've just seen a pig fly outside of my window, so I must be dreaming. But
it's not often you loan players on the National League South, is it? That'd be quite a sight.
No. So I think we must have known about it for longer than what it was like alluded to. Because if we wasn't, that's poor planning. But I would like to think that we sort of had a plan B if Lyle wasn't to sign. And
I kind of wonder if there was, because I'm a bit frustrated about this Goodwin situation. I was quite looking forward to seeing him up top leading the line for this team. Got so little chance of seeing that so far. And yeah, it is Tavide, and we kind of know what we get with Tavide. There's occasions where he'll just blast through the entire team, score spectacular goals. But how long have we had him on our radar now at Colchester? And it's still like the next to come off that conveyor belt to move on, and he's still here. And there comes a point where you say, well, there's got to be a reason he's still here. People are being put off by him, other clubs.
Yeah, I was chatting to a couple of Colchester fans the other night, and I'm very much an advocate that Tavide, it plays best when he's got someone up with him. You see it in the games where he's up front on his own. We play like the 4-2-3-1 system, and he's on his own, and the right centre back's got it, and he's run over to him. Then he passes over to the left, so he sprints back over to close the ball down. He then passes it back, and he's turning. He's like, I've now got to run back. You can see why he's getting frustrated. When he's got someone up with him, he's only got to do half of that running. He can.
Problem you have with that, though, Ryan, is you've got Jack Payne there, who's probably one of the most creative players in League Two. So it's how do you incorporate a number 10 and two up top? It's not always
easy. Exactly. Yeah, there's formations out there where we can do that, but then it will then mean maybe further back we have to then move. Take a player
lose your
out
wingers if you could try and
exactly.
Like,
I want to play the wing. If you've got Aurora Edwards, I want to keep playing him.
Yeah.
I think the setup now, I actually like the 4-2-3-1 shape. It just doesn't feel like the right number 9 at the moment.
No, like I say, and when we've played games where we've brought Lisby on and put Lisby up front with Tavide, the pair of them have caused defensive problems. And it was the game against Tranmere when Lisby came on. Their defenders, every time they got the ball, they didn't have. They were having like maybe a couple of seconds to be able to get the ball down, look up, and clear it. once Lisby was on, it then let Davide go, right, I'll just occupy sort of between the goalposts in this sort of area. Kyrie's was then pressing the players down, and they went from just as soon as they got near the ball, they just had to boot it. So they were like, I haven't got the time. And again, that's where Davide was thriving, because he was able just to focus on being like the fox in the box sort of thing. He hasn't got to think about doing all of the running and stuff like that. I think Davide and Goodwin could have a good partnership together. Davide and Bick could have a good partnership together. But yeah, like you say, it's another season where we're going in and we're like, Davido's going to get a big money move, and he hasn't. And when you look at the Shrewsbury game, and he had a really good game, he had a goal disallowed, but because he was offside, but he got himself in a good position. When the shot come in, he was like, right, it's going to fall into this area, and he was there and he tapped it in. His goal that he took, the ball came to him, he tapped it into the space, and he took his finish really well. And you sit there and you go, that's the Samson we want. Then in the next game at home to Cambridge, he was so focused on battling with Job that he literally done, in terms of attack play, he done nothing. So it is just oh my God, Samson, what a game you just had. And then, oh my God, Samson, this isn't the WWE, play football. So yeah, it's a hard one with him, because when he scores the goals, you sit there and you're like, he is going to make us a lot of money. But unfortunately, that happens once every 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, absolutely. Can we just come back to Josh Powell, who Ed mentioned earlier, Ryan? I saw I don't know whether it was the goal at Barnet or one of the chances. He made a lung-busting run, literally from defence to attack, and that's something that really excites me, especially on turnovers. And I think the fact that he can hold the width and get to the back post and and carry that kind of threat might free up somebody like an Aurora Edwards to maybe go inside and cause damage in different areas, rather than feeling like he's got to be the one that holds the width. So that aspect of it really excites me with regards to Josh Powell.
Yeah, he's. I was chatting with a friend of mine that I work with, and he isn't convinced with Powell. He still says that he was like, the left back still got a lot to learn. And I then messaged him back and I said, attackively, he's really, really good. He was like, defensively,
you wouldn't have seen Iandolo make some of the runs that Powell can make.
No. And I said to him, attackively, he's a really, really good left back. Because like, defensively, he needs to work a little bit. And he literally messaged me back saying, what position, what area of the pitch is the left back in? And I went, the defence. And he just sent me like a sort of frowny face. And I was like, yeah, okay. If you are a left back and you defended,
is this the old strikers only score goals and do nothing else? Is that what this is?
Yeah, he is. Yeah. He is a very, very much an old school football fan. Okay. But no, he even said, no, attackively, he is very, very good. He was like, but if he was a left winger, I'd be like, yeah, fair enough. But he's a left back. And I was like, I see where you're coming from, but I think
it's slightly simplistic, isn't it?
Yeah, slightly. I think that the thing that we've got that I think most Colchester fans are so looking forward to with him is it's obviously another young player from Nottingham Forest. We had a lad on loan last season. I don't know if any of you were aware of him, Jamie McDonnell. He done quite well for us. Was obviously on loan from Forest, and then we got Ben Perry, who came on McDonald's sort of say so. We've then got Powell in. So with any player that we get on loan from Nottingham Forest, we're instantly like, oh, this could be quite good. And he does look like a really tidy little player, but he is still a player that has got a lot to learn. But yeah, the run that you was mentioning was brilliant. He saw the space, he went, and he got in there and got himself a good chance. So I think
this is a real side question.
Go on.
Go for it. Carry on. Sorry.
I was going to say,
it's a silly question. Just carry on what you're saying.
whilst Ellis is out, I think he is a good replacement. Do I think that when Ellis is back fit, he'll still play? Depending on injuries in other areas, I don't think so.
Okay. Ed? I was just simply going to ask, speaking about Forest players, when a lad comes down from that part of the country, where do they live as a Colchester player? Do you have a London address? Is that that's what I'm curious about. I'm curious about location-wise. So like
I know Chelmsford is quite a sort of nice area to live. It's not a million miles from Colchester. You're probably looking about a 30 to 40 minute drive. if they was to go sort of East London, that's about sort of 40 to 50 minute drive. I know when Jamie McDonald came down, him and Aaron Donnelly, because they came down together, were sharing a flat together. Obviously, Aaron then went off to Scotland in January, and Jamie was sort of down here on his own. I'm not sure where the flat was. I know Robbie Cowlin does have his like properties, so maybe Robbie has sort of 10 to 15 properties that he offers out to loanees. But it's also the journey, like not in. This is what's odd. The journey from Nottingham to Colchester is probably a journey that some players might drive. I believe when we had Charlie Daniels on our books from when he played for Bournemouth, I believe he was travelling from Bournemouth to Colchester for home games.
From Bournemouth to Colchester?
Apparently
you
so.
have to go early in the morning so you don't get stuck in traffic, I would have thought.
Yeah, well, if players get there at like 12 o'clock for like pre-match meal and stuff like that, yeah, what time has he left Bournemouth? And I think another one as well, when we had Matty Longstaff, I think he wasn't travelling down from Newcastle, but he was travelling a long way down.
No way, not coming down to Newcastle, surely.
There was an away game. I can't remember who it was we were playing, but he was in the crowd. And someone went up to him and was like, "Oh, it's good to see that you're supporting the team whilst you're out injured." He went, "Well, I only live like 20 minutes away." And then we were like, "Hang on, you're not travelling." I want to say it might have even been Barrow. It'd be like, "You're not travelling down from Newcastle for match."
Sounds like Hartlepool, if anything, for that area.
Yeah, it puts your sort of mind. It makes your mind wander, because when I've listened to like Ben Foster's podcast, he said that players that played for Watford used to do that. They used to travel from all over the place to Watford, and it then gets you thinking, yeah, like players that come in on loan, do they stay in Colchester? Because if they're on a 6-month loan, can you get a house for 6 months? So it's an odd one.
Yeah, for sure. That's the thing. It does make you think about the careers of footballers, because there's no stability in the career at all. You know, you can be somewhere 1 minute and then a completely different place the next. So you've got to make decisions. Do you want to jump from one house to another, or do you want to have really long travel? It's not easy decisions, but so in terms of Colchester then, Ryan, I think the Barnet gate, we've spoken about you know, some of the potential that you've got going forward with Powell getting forward, and Aurora Edwards and Jack Payne, and you know, can Tavide finish those chances? But the thing that I'm be slightly concerned about was how, I think Danny Cowley mentioned it, there was nothing against the ball in the last 15 minutes of that game, and maybe that equaliser was coming. Is that something you've got to rectify, do you think, for coming games?
I think so. I unfortunately wasn't able to go to the Barnet game, but I had a chat with a lad from the Bees pod who was at the game, and he said for the first 20 minutes, Colchester looked like they were going to come in and score 4, 5, 6 goals. He went, then after 20 minutes, you took your foot off the gas. And that's the thing that is very odd for Colchester fans this season, is when we're playing, whether it's been at home or away, and we've gone 1-0 up, we've just gone, right, everyone behind the ball. Which, when you do that for sort of 10 minutes, it can sort of work because it's a short period of time. When you do it after the 20th minute in a game, and you do it for an entire half, you're just asking for trouble. Last night, Jack Baldwin and Harvey Araujo played 90 minutes together. Never played with each other before, and looked like they've been playing with each other for 3, 4, 5 years. Were really, really good, really, really solid. Dominic Gapes coming back from an injury, who is a sort of destructive midfielder that Danny talks about having. So players are starting to come back that have got the experience to be like, right, I know what to do to win, to keep hold of this win. We have Tom Flanagan and Jack Tucker as our centre backs. You then go and put on Dominic Gape and Jack Baldwin. That's just a lot more experience and players that have been around the game and know how to eke out a sort of 1-0 win. But yeah, it's weird because we weren't like that last year. If we were 1-0 up, it'd be like, right, let's try and get another goal, get 2-0 up. But even 2-0 is a horrible scoreline because the opposition scored to make it 2-1. You've now got your backs up against the wall. They've just got their goal. Their momentum's up. So it's like, right, we need to just score. And that's what it looked like in the Barnet game. When I watched the game back, the first 20 minutes, I was like, we've come here to try and score 3, 4, 5 goals. And then after 20 minutes, they were like, okay, it was as if they went, right, we can't score again. Right, let's just hold 1-0. And that's not what you're going to want. If you want to be sitting up at the top and fighting for the playoffs and fighting for promotion, sitting on 1-0 wins isn't going to be the point.
Do you think there's a personnel component to that, Ryan? Because Teddy Bishop has had a career where he's shown loads of promise, and I think he'd be a top-end championship player if he was at full fitness, if he'd had full fitness throughout his career. However, maybe those injuries kind of has that maybe eaten away at his ability to really engage. And so is there a personnel component to this where if you maybe had 2 midfielders who are more than happy to snap into challenges and really impose themselves, maybe that opening 20 minutes that you had at Barnet might have extended a bit longer?
Yeah, I think if we were able to play, the problem is Teddy Bishop and Arthur Reed, it's like the Spider-Man meme. They are literally identical. So a lot of people are saying you can't play Bishop and Reed together. Over the past couple of games, we've actually realised, you know what? Yeah, you can play Bishop and Reed together, but it does mean that we haven't got that player to just sit, break up the play and just relax. Obviously, Ben Perry was that player, and then we were taking off. We were taking off Bishop and putting on Reed. We were taking off basically Bishop and putting on Bishop. So
isn't that interesting? So it's like the absence of one sitting midfielder means that the whole team posture, if you like, is kind of compromised because you don't have the one player who can do that screening role. It's like everyone's the holding midfielder.
Yeah, I know this is a big old leap, but you look at Man City when they didn't have Rodri, you're like, one player really disrupt the whole team. Yeah, it's the same. It is literally that little Claude Makelele and N'Golo Kante role. If that's not in it, if you don't have the one player in your team that can operate in that position when needed, it can disrupt the entire rest of the squad.
It's not just what they do individually, it kind of impacts the whole dynamic. So I can totally see how that can be a factor.
Yeah, it'd even be like if Reed and Bishop say, right, let's take it in turns, like I'll attack, I'll defend, and you defend. And then they both look at each other like, was it me or was it you? I don't by that time, like, oh, they've just scored. And then they go, oh yeah, it was me. But just having that one player that just stands there and will just look at say Edwards on the left, Lisby on the right, Tavide in the middle, Payne and Reed forward, and he's just sort of sitting there on the striker, just watching it all unfold, and then allows the fullbacks to go and goes, well, we've still got 3 back here. So yeah, it is weird that just not having that one little role can disrupt the whole team.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Do you think what do you think of Harry Anderson's start to the season?
He did pick up a little bit of a knock. I'm a fan of all Colchester players. I will never boo them. I will never boo any of the players, the manager, anything. I will always applaud them no matter what. For me, for how Danny wants his wingers to play, I don't think he's quite there at the moment. Although saying that, last night when he came on against Wickham, I thought he done very well. He got himself into some good positions, got some good shots off, and looked like quite a good sort of backup player to have. He is someone that Danny knows very, very well. I think it's 200 and something games he played for Lincoln.
Yeah.
So the Cowleys know him very, very well. They know exactly what they're going to get out of him. They know that if they say to him, Harry, we want you to do this, he's not going to look at him and go, that's not what I do. He knows exactly. They know what Harry can do and what Harry can't do. So he is one that I think even for himself, he'd probably want a bit more of a sort of an explosive start. But when you then look at the players that were ahead of him in Kyrus Lisby, Oscar Thorne, Owara Edwards, Adrian Akande, you do sort of feel a little bit sorry for him where you're like, I don't really know where he could fit in. He does do a lot of work defensively. So could, if we was to say go to like a back five, he could be a sort of right wing back option.
Yeah.
But then alludes back to what we were saying sort of earlier. You go to a back five, you've then got to move someone else out of position.
I think the wide area is the strongest area of your squad, personally, because you've got players who can just can pose such a threat. So I wouldn't want necessarily that.
That trio behind the striker to me. That's just that central, that trio across the three across the front, just behind that centre forward, wingers in there, and then we know exactly what Jack Payne's all about. So that's the trio out there. That if you get Edwards, Anderson, Payne firing, it gives them a fighting chance, even if necessary there isn't a great number 9 leading the line.
Yeah.
Still confident then, Ryan, about what's possible for Colchester this season?
Before the season started, I had us in 4th, I think. I said 4th or 5th. With the way we have started, I think playoffs could still be an option.
It could definitely still be an option. It's August. It's September, sorry.
Yeah, very true. Also, relegation could be an option.
And also, no, I don't think. So remember, this League Two, there's always a slow starter that just suddenly accelerates.
Yes.
So
yes,
could be yourself.
Like looking at the table and saying about relegation. I think Cheltenham and Shrewsbury have already sort of signed that paperwork.
No, 6 games in.
But you sort of look up near the top. Gills are flying. Chesterfield are flying. MK are the team that people are going to be scared to play against. So us sort of starting slow and starting in the mid-table, you sort of sit there and think, is this going to be what it's going to be like for us this season?
I would still think, Ryan, maybe it might take 1 or 2 more editions in January, but I think that Colchester United under Danny Cowley, they're a team where when it clicks, you're capable of winning 5 games in a row and just steaming up the table. So that's what I would say. I would say there's still everything to play for, obviously.
Yeah. I think the signing of Mika and Bick, some fans were sort of looking at it feeling like it's a bit of a panic because of his age and his inexperience. But there was this EFL guru called Gabe Sutton who really, really highly rates him. So I'm intrigued to see Gabe Sutton. I don't know if you've heard of him, Ed.
I'm not sure.
No. I've seen him do quite a lot of EFL content, and he's knowledgeable. But he
has that Colchester fan on, doesn't he?
Yeah, that guy.
Selection choice.
Yeah, I can't think what that guy's called. We're interested to see what he can do. But it's also that thing where it's like, we're sitting here crying out for a goal scorer whilst Goodwin's injured.
Yeah.
And we've brought in an inexperienced 18-year-old. So it's...
Yeah. I do understand that bit. What I would say, Ryan, is he scored 40-plus goals for Charlton's youth teams across 3 different age groups in the 23-24 campaign. And last season, it wasn't like, he was always training with the first-team squad. I think he featured in 5 league games from the bench and as well as the featuring in the playoff final. So I think always, whenever he was available, Nathan Jones really liked him and wanted to include him. So this isn't just the case of last minute, who have Charlton got? Okay, I'll take someone from the under 21s. This is someone who I think has genuine talent. I would say it's a good signing, but I can also see how with Goodwin injured, you'd have wanted that experienced, physical option. So I can see the other side to it, but I'm excited about Mbick.
Yeah, the last player that we had from a championship team that was sort of inexperienced that featured in a playoff final was a young lad called Joe Taylor. So if he can emulate what Joe Taylor did, he'll be fine for me.
Absolutely. Hopefully he doesn't get recalled in January.
Why have you said that? That's now going to happen.
Brilliant stuff. Ryan, it's been great to have you on, and thanks so much for talking to us, and keep up the great work on the channel.
No worries. Thank you, guys. Yeah, definitely check out Gabe Sutton. He knows his stuff.
Oh, thank you.
I'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Cheers, Ryan.
Cheers. Thank you.
So, Ed, I wanted to talk to you about the other three teams weren't able to get representation for different reasons. But let's start with Notts County. A big win for them to 2-1 at Tranmere. It still felt like they, to me, like they held on, some sort of last-ditch defending. You could look at that as being dogged and spirited and battling for the result. But also, it feels a little bit like they sort of rode their luck a little bit.
Yeah, they haven't had a perfect display yet, have they? Even in their victories. They beat Shrewsbury because it's Shrewsbury. If we're being truthful about that, that just got silly. And it's more an indictment on Shrewsbury's performances than Notts. I mean, Notts, I watched that game. Notts won 4-1. They still felt extremely open. It felt like a more accomplished team would have easily provided as many goals against them. That Tranmere one kind of sticks out a little bit more because it's just a more positive result in a mix of largely negative results. Although I appreciate that comeback. I'm going to pat myself on the back here because I said pre-season Matthew Dennis would be quite handy, and he started very well, leading the line, which is good because we had this worry that they look pretty dependent on Jatta for that goal scoring. Jatta's barely featured up to now. It's all working just fine for him. Just still not blown away by general feeling around performances. I know there's expectations are quite high, and it got to near toxic stage quite early into the season. You remember that Barrow defeats, and it still feels a bit on edge now. That kind of win is really handy for Patterson to try and just relax things a little bit more. But the jury still seems really out on them, and people seem really annoyed about that deadline day. Felt like there was more they wanted to add. They wanted a different choice of goalkeeper. They wanted some more options outfield. Nothing happened on Monday. It was just a Monday for them. It wasn't even deadline day at all. So I'm not sure many are that convinced they're ready to go to this new campaign now.
I was slightly confused by Martin Patterson's post-match interview because...
When are we not, Gab? It's Martin Patterson.
Yeah, I mean, because on the one hand, he was praising his players, and on the other hand, I think he said something like they do it on purpose when I think he was referring to mistakes. He said that they do it to annoy me sometimes. It's like, I love them, but they do it. So it's sort of like, well, you can't have... I feel a little bit like... I don't know how Notts County fans feel about this. I feel a little bit like you can't have it both ways. You can't say, oh, I love them, but they're also making mistakes almost on. But I don't know. I'm not sure quite what to...
The way the comment like that is sort of like the way you feel about like a toddler. You know, you find them really irritating, but if you tried to take them off you, you'd kill them. It's that kind of unconditional love, I guess. He kind of... I don't know where I'm quite going with it. The way the sense I'm trying to get with it is that he's trying to make out that he does really appreciate his squad, but also they irritate the life out of him. That's just the life of being part of a family, I guess is what he's trying to say without saying it. If you see what I'm saying with that.
Okay. Yeah. I
made more sense in my head than it did out loud, but I'm glad you're going with it anyway. So that's all right. The thing I'm noticing with Patterson's interviews, as someone who saw all the previous ones at the previous club, he feels like he's aware of how social media reacts to interviews. Just the way that he comes across now. Before with Burton, he didn't hold any filters. He was just very brash and just said what he said. Now you listen to him being interviewed for Notts, and it feels like he has this thought in his head, well, I know what answer I want to say here, but I'm wary of what the reaction is going to be as I say it. So I'm going to alter it slightly and make myself seem a bit more calm, a bit more cautious with my approach to it.
Yes.
Is the sense I'm getting. That. I think he knows that the jury's still out on him and there's a lot of people analysing and judging him.
Yeah. And on the one hand, you don't want managers to feel like they've got to filter everything that they'd want to say. But on the other hand, that kind of does come with the territory when you choose a public-facing profession. It's a well-paid job, and that can come with a certain degree of scrutiny. And so that's the trade-off that you have to make.
I think it depends on the circumstances around it, because I think back to some of the Dean Brennan interviews that he's done, particularly last year at Barnet, even to a certain degree this year with Barnet. If the players play bad, he scaves them. He won't call them out individually, but he'll just scave the entire group to their performances. And I see a lot of people find that quite refreshing, because other managers try and hide away or try and pull positives out of a performance to try and make things sound better than they were, where in reality, he's just a bit like that. And I think that kind of approach is appreciated by a lot more people, because people want to see that. People want to see managers feeling the same way about a game as they did about the game.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, that conversation about authenticity versus professionalism and managing situations. I don't know what the answer is, but the answer for Notts County is they've got to put some results together, which they did at Tranmere. I still feel like there's a vulnerability about them defensively, the goal they conceded. Cerula was absolutely nowhere. Jacob Bedeau, a bit of a possibly an error from him, and then Tom Yorpender maybe didn't chase his man and all that kind of thing. And I just don't know. It's maybe it's an isolated incident, but it doesn't fill me with confidence than defensively.
I think I want Matty Platt back in the heart of that back three again.
Yeah.
Just that assured figure he can provide in there. And I think they've been missing out the last 2 games that will make a difference. And I had a bit of hope that Calarouche could be all right. I'm not really sold on him at the minute as a goalkeeper. It's not really felt like the kind of addition they were looking for, because there was that frustration anyway with the decision to sell Alex Bass to Peterborough quite suddenly in the summer window, with this assurance seemingly that they were going to sort it out. Doesn't feel like they have. Feels like that's a unit that's now got weaker compared to last year.
Yeah, certainly does. So, sort of curious to see how things level out with regards to Notts County. When it comes to, you mentioned Dean Brennan there, so we'll come on to Barnet. I've always felt, even when Barnet have had games, Ed, where they've looked open and they've looked error prone, I've always felt that they've been capable of pinning their opponents back for long periods and creating a high volume of half chances, because they're very good at getting to those areas with their wing backs right on the byline and kind of chipping their crosses in. So they don't cross from deep, they cross right on the byline. And I think that is going to help them create a lot of chances over the course of the season and score a lot of goals. And yet also it feels like whenever Barnet concede a chance, it tends to be a big chance, and it's that balance that they've got to try and try.
I think that's the benefits and drawbacks of their positional play. He's very focused on this high starting position, particularly for his wing backs, as you say. Hence why they get in the good crossing positions. But if you want to play expansive, you're going to open up the space. And if you're not proficient in possession, absolutely perfect on the ball, you're going to get punished for that, as we've seen this year. And I want to ask first, are we right to put Barnet in slow starter category? Did we all maybe get too carried away at the start of this season?
So for me,
because some might look at that and say, Barnet Football Club 15th in League 2, 7 points from 6 games. Yep, that's fine. You're a newly promoted team. I know we both looked at them at the start of the year and said this could be fun.
Yeah.
Maybe actually, if they did end up in the middle of the pack and just quite comfortable, would that actually be that bad a thing?
So if I hadn't spoken to Mem from Bees Pod on my summer deep dive, and I knew nothing about Barnet other than they're a sort of fairly, modestly sized club, one of the smaller clubs at this level, just one promotion from the National League, I'd have probably had them low mid-table. But because Mem made such an impassioned case for Barnet possibly going for another promotion because of the unity that Dean Brennan's instilled, because of this exciting style of football, because maybe some of those concerns that I had about their style translating to a higher level, a bit like Notts County a couple of years ago, he said, no, we're actually quite quite good at pressing, which means we don't get counted on as much. That was a theory from the National League. And maybe because of that, because Mem and others from the Bees Pod were so enthused by what they saw in their National League title winning campaign, I think for me as a neutral, as a pundit, I kind of went with it when maybe I should have applied more of a sort of critical lens to it. But I still think there's a chance that they can catch fire.
Yeah, what I quite like, though, is that it feels like the way they're actually getting goals and getting back into games and getting results is actually going a bit away from their ideal principles of play. These aren't the kind of goals they really were scoring on a more regular basis that we saw in the National League now.
Yeah.
They're really utilising Ollie Hawkins, for instance.
That was a lovely one,
now.
too.
Ollie Hawkins is not the kind of guy I thought I'd see in last year's title-winning team. Not that kind of strike in my mind of what they were looking for. But they're just utilising that physicality that's there now.
Well, they did have Unlove in the National League title-winning team. I think Hawkins is basically like a higher pedigree version of Unlove. But I think I love the 1-2 they played for Danny Kalinja's equaliser. I think that's a lovely bit of football. I think to be playing 1-2s for equaliser.
Yeah, perhaps. I still want to kind of see Callum Stead properly at his stride at the moment. That's another one I had some high hopes for on the back of what we've been seeing. There was an injury to play a part, so that there is fitness permitting there. I'll let go in the way of that, certainly. But I had a bit of hope for that to start. And on the back of the numbers delivered last year in the National League, kind of wanted to see him show himself so we one of their star individuals in their team. And it's not happened up to now. Maybe it will down the line.
One thing I would really like to see is Ryan Glover in his left wing back spot. And I think there's, for some sort of technical reason, Dean Brennan's used him centrally for a few games this season. But it's crystal clear to me that where Ryan Glover is at his most effective, it's left wing back, high up the pitch and wide. It's not centrally. I think that's really obvious to me. So I really want to see him playing left wing back.
Yeah, I echo that.
So, I mean, Steve, you're kind of thinking, should we recalibrate our expectations on Barnet? Are you, where
no,
are you
I don't think we need to fully recalibrate yet. As you say, the same reason we don't want to, if we were doing the same to Barnet, we'd fully recalibrate Colchester and stop talking about top 7 with them and go the other way. But we're not saying that. We just had that talk with Ryan and changed our mind on that. But maybe, I don't know, maybe the way people talked and the way I got myself thinking, I thought they were just going to hit the ground running and look the same standard as they did last season and just keep that high momentum going. And it's not felt like that at the start so far, and they've had to adjust themselves a little bit with their approach to scoring goals, I think, to get more results in some recent games. So maybe a bit more of a slightly measured approach might be a way, and just expect them to kind of ascend their way up the table rather than necessarily start as a front runner with everyone else.
Yeah, that makes sense. So just to finish on Bristol Rovers then, Ed, they did have to ride out the second half at Grimsby, where maybe some would say slightly fortunate to get all 3 points in that one. But I think with the back four of Macaulay Southern-Hales, Capra Lepata, Alfie Kilgore and Jack Sparks, they've established an understanding between them with Luke Southwood in goal.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's starting to click. We've had a few formations deployed by Darryl Clark up to now, starting with that kind of back 3 shape, back 5 shape, not quite working out. Gone to a Thor. I think a little bit permitted by just giving up on Taylor Moore, maybe to be part of that, and giving up on Clinton Muller to play as much of a part and focusing on other people instead. What I particularly like at the minute is when you go back to that 11 that played on Saturday, similar to Colchester, the trio behind the striker, Promise Somachere, Real Sotirio, Luke Thomas. I love that as a trio. And the midfield base behind, in theory, Camel Conte, Josh McEachran, Ellis Harrison might well get himself back to some previous levels. He's had a few moves up to now without really ever doing it. You're scowling at me again. You're doing that thing again.
No, I'm not. I'm not feeling it. No, I think Ellis Harrison.
I'm living in hope. I'm living in hope because I agree. Ellis Harrison has had a few moves now without really rediscovering Thorne, where previously looked like a very effective striker at this level.
We'll see.
Okay, he doesn't like Ellis Harrison. I get the gist. Okay, fine. No, I get it.
But good luck, Ellis. But I think Macaulay Southern-Hales, it was a lovely finish, wasn't it? In that winner at Grimsby, he's got a great strike on him, and I think he's a top end player at this level.
Should be. It's always the case with him. Sadly, you have to manage his fitness. Was the case for ages when he came from left fleet with the Stockport. Always enjoyed him bombing on, particularly as he's the kind of guy. It's why I was quite excited about the start of the year, because it looked like it was a back 3, which meant him at wing back. And him at wing back, I think, is wonderful, given that license to fully boss that right hand side. But there's always that problem of having to be fitness permitting with him and be wary of the fact that he can just have spells out of action. I guess he's a little bit like Jamie Sterry at Doncaster in that kind of sense.
Yeah.
Jamie Sterry I've always loved for ages, when he was at Hartlepool before even going to Doncaster. But you couldn't rely on him for 40 games a season, sadly, just with the fitness record that's placed. And it's probably a similar case with Southern-Hales here. I think he could be one of the top assets in this league when he's fully on it.
Yeah, fingers crossed. He's a nice compliment to Jack Sparks who they got on this side, because I think Sparks is just a sumptuous technician, all about the link-up play and quality of the technical ability. Whereas Macaulay Southern-Hales, I think it's more about the drive, that ability to get up and down. They complement one another nicely, and those victories, back-to-back victories, should help them start to climb the table. Well, Ed, I think that just about wraps it up. Great to get your insights on League Two as always. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks to Ryan, our guest from the Up the U's, and we'll see you again for another League Two podcast next week.